The school is still dark when Mariah Lewis parks her small car by the loading bay. The sky is a soft gray, and the air smells like rain even though the forecast says it will be clear. She shuts off the engine, sits for a breath, and watches her own car in the rearview mirror. She is a black woman in her 50s with warm eyes and steady hands. She has worked in kitchens for years, and before that, she was a quartermaster in the army. She does not talk about that much. She lets her work speak. She always has. Inside, the cafeteria lights hum to life as she unlocks the back door. She ties on her apron, checks that her hairnet is snug, and begins her routine. She starts with the walk-in fridge. She feels the breath of cold air across her cheeks and glances at the thermometer. 3 degrees above freezing. Perfect. She takes a photo with the kitchen tablet and taps the reading into the morning log, date, time, temperature. She runs a finger along the door seal, making sure there is no frost, no gap. Small things matter. Small things keep children safe. She moves to the dry storage room and counts boxes without looking at the labels, just by weight and shape. Then she looks at the labels anyway, because habit is a friend. Beans. Rice. Pasta. Whole grain rolls. She checks the lot numbers and the best by dates. She writes down what is low and what is due to expire next. The pen moves in neat strokes. She has a gentle smile when she works like this. She likes order. She likes when every part of the kitchen feels ready to serve. Order makes busy hours easier for her crew. The delivery truck arrives a few minutes early, brakes sighing, engine rumbling. The driver, a young man with a knit cap pulled low, brings out a rolling cart stacked with crates. "Morning, Miss Lewis," he says. "Got your milk, got your produce, and got the replacement chicken patties." She nods and signs his tablet, but she still checks every crate. She opens the milk box, lifts a carton, and reads the plant code without saying it out loud. She checks another carton from the bottom of the crate, just to be sure the codes match. She logs both. The driver watches, a little impressed. "You're fast," he says. "You're thorough." She smiles. "That too." As the driver leaves, Ruth Kamau, the night custodian, waves from the hallway. Ruth is quiet and kind, and she always stops by to say hello before her shift ends. Walk-in door was beeping around midnight, Ruth says. Contractors kept bringing in tools. I told them to shut it quick. Mariah thanks her and makes a mental note to check the door sensor report later. They share a soft laugh about the never-ending beeping that comes with buildings. Then Ruth heads off, and Mariah returns to the line, wearing focus like a good coat. By 6, 2 cooks arrive, and the kitchen warms with voices and the scent of coffee. One sets water to boil for oats, the other slides trays into the oven to warm. Mariah posts the breakfast menu and the lunch menu on the wall near the serving line. Then she posts Plan B, a simple backup if a delivery shows up short. And below that, she posts Plan C, a more creative set of swaps that still meets nutrition rules. She always does this. It saves stress later. She does not fuss about it. She tapes, smooths the paper, and steps back to see the wall like a map. Students begin to drift in for breakfast. Early athletes. Band members with sleepy eyes. A few kids who like the quiet. Mariah greets them all by name if she can. "Good morning, Jada," she says to the young student journalist with a camera slung over her shoulder. "Morning, Miss Lewis," Jada says, noticing the 3 menus. "You always have extra plans." "We feed everybody," Mariah replies. "Plans help." Jada smiles and takes a photo of the menu wall. She has a storyteller's eye and a way of catching small details. She likes to stand near the kitchen door and watch the dance of the line. At 7, the staff lounge door swings open down the hall, and laughter spills out as teachers swap quick jokes before the day. Coach Reynolds strides by the serving line with a whistle around his neck. He stops at the counter and points at a tray. "Big game tonight," he says. "Make sure the boys get extra." He grins like it is a small joke and adds, "It's just tater tots, right?" The comment is light, not cruel, but it carries a tone. It says the kitchen is simple. It says the work is easy. A teacher nearby chuckles and keeps walking. Mariah has heard little comments like that for years. She does not argue. She nods and keeps moving, because breakfast is already busy. She checks the hot hold unit, confirms the digital readout, and logs it. She lifts a pan to stir eggs, sweeping them slowly from edge to center so they set soft and even. She shows one cook how to fold the heat into the food. "Slow, steady, safe," she says. The cook nods and mirrors her hands. The kitchen smells like cinnamon oats and toasted bread. A child laughs at something funny a friend says. It is a good morning. The principal steps in to ask about a parent meeting later. Principal Elena Diaz is kind and tired, with a stack of folders pressed to her chest. "We might have a visit from the district today," she says. "Short notice." Mariah wipes her hands and offers a calm smile. "We're always ready," she says, and she means it. The principal thanks her and moves on, relieved. Mariah turns to the tablet and sends a quick note to her crew, "Please double-check allergen labels, make sure the nut-free station sign is clear, confirm that the gluten-free rolls are in their marked bin." Her team answers with thumbs up. By 8, the cafeteria is full of light and bustle. The fans spin overhead. The stainless steel surfaces shine. Trays slide, milk cartons clink, and the scanner at the register makes its soft beep for each ID. Mariah moves between stations with a calm rhythm. She refills fruit, wipes spills before they spread, and reminds a cook to swap a serving spoon after it brushes a different pan. She has eyes everywhere. She notices a label peeling away from a container and presses it flat. She notices a line forming at the left register and opens the right one before anyone asks. Everything keeps flowing. Between breakfast and lunch, the kitchen breathes. Pans are washed, surfaces sanitized, and prep begins for the next wave. Mariah steps into the office nook by the walk-in and opens the door sensor report on her computer. The graph shows a series of quick blips just before midnight. The door did open and close many times. She marks the note Ruth gave her and sets a reminder to ask maintenance if the door closer needs adjustment. She is not worried, but she is awake to patterns. She knows a kitchen is a chain of steps, and any weak link must be watched. She prints fresh labels for the lunch items and checks the ingredients again, even though she checked them earlier. She matches each recipe to the nutrition standard, making sure the meal meets the rules for whole grains, protein, fruits, vegetables, and milk. She does not need to look at the rules anymore, but she still keeps the guidebook open beside her, out of respect for the work. She taps the plant code list she keeps in a plastic sleeve. She has learned which codes belong to the district's approved plants. She can recite them, but it feels better to read them again. A small problem pops up at 10:15. The replacement chicken patties are not pre-seasoned like the usual ones. One cook frowns. They'll taste plain. Another cook worries they might dry out. Mariah nods, calm. We'll add a light spice mix from approved ingredients, she says. Not too much salt. Keep the texture. She mixes a simple blend and shows the technique, a little oil brushed on, a quick bake, then a brief hold so the center stays juicy. She reminds the team to do a test cut for temperature, not guess by color. They do it, and the patties come out fine. Students pour in for first lunch, then second, then third. The room swells with talk and soft clatter, then empties, then swells again. Mariah stations herself where she can see the line and the tray return. She watches how students move, where they pause, what they reach for first. She learns more from watching than from any chart. Jada, The student with the camera hovers near the side and snaps photos for the school paper. Feature on behind the scenes, she whispers to a friend. She catches Mariah's eye and gives a small wave. Mariah waves back and goes to refill the vegetable cups. Between rushes, Coach Reynolds returns for a quick lunch. He picks up a tray and makes a comment about the boys needing extra protein. "We've got you covered," Mariah says in a friendly tone. He makes a small joke about mystery meat, the old cafeteria joke, and a nearby teacher laughs again. Mariah does not correct him. She could explain the recipe and the supplier approval steps, but the line is moving, and students are waiting. She simply says, "Enjoy your meal," and turns to help a child who is trying to balance 2 milks and a tray. When the last lunch ends, the kitchen begins its careful clean down. Pans soak. Surfaces get scrubbed. Floors are swept and mopped. Labels on leftover items are updated with time and date. Mariah leads final checks. Cold items return to the walk-in quickly. Hot items cool with ice once before storage. She logs the cooling times. Everything has a place and a time. She hums a soft tune as she moves, and the sound blends with the splash of water and the ring of metal on metal. The hum says she is content. The hum says today went well. On her way to the office corner, she passes the staff lounge again. She hears a few words drift out, simple talk about grades and a quick laugh about cafeteria taste tests. It is light, not sharp, but it holds the same old idea that the kitchen is simple work. She pauses, only for a breath. She could walk in and share the truth, that this job is logistics, safety, timing, and care. She could say that she tracks codes the way a detective tracks clues. She could say that every good day is the result of quiet discipline. Then she smiles to herself and keeps walking. In the office corner, she opens her log and writes a final note about the door beeps Ruth mentioned. She files the invoice from the delivery, notes the plant codes she checked, and sets a reminder to request training for new substitutes on the hot hold unit. She adds a small line at the bottom, Plan C posted. Used once for patties. She likes records that tell a story. Not a dramatic story, but a clear one. A story that shows care. A story that proves the kitchen did what it promised to do, feed every child safely and with respect. By the time the afternoon sun leans through the high windows, the cafeteria floor is dry and shining. The trays are stacked. The ovens are off. The walk-in door closes with a quiet click. Mariah stands in the middle of the empty room and lets herself feel proud for a moment. She thinks of the children who ate and laughed and went back to class with warm food in their bellies. She thinks of her team who worked with purpose. She thinks of how many steps went right because they were planned, checked, and done on time. She takes off her apron, folds it neatly, and places it in the laundry bin. She checks the latch on the back door and the setting on the thermostat once more. She turns out the lights row by row, leaving the room in a soft twilight. As she steps outside, the air is cooler, and the sky is wide. She locks the door and listens. The building is quiet now. She walks to her car with an easy stride. The day held small jokes and small doubts, but they did not touch her core. She knows who she is. She knows what she brings. In the driver's seat, she rests her hands on the wheel and looks back at the building. She does not know yet what tomorrow will bring. She does not know that whispers will spread on phones and that people will talk in quick, nervous tones after a few students feel unwell. She does not know that she will need every bit of calm and skill she has built over a lifetime. Today, she only knows this: she kept her kitchen safe, she fed her kids, and she wrote the kind of record that can stand up to questions. And that is enough for now. The next morning begins with the same calm steps as always, but a small worry walks beside Mariah from the parking lot to the loading bay. A teacher stopped her at dismissal yesterday and said 3 students went to the nurse after lunch with stomachaches. The teacher did not blame anyone. She was just sharing what she heard. Still, the words sat with Mariah overnight like a note she could not file away. She turns on the kitchen lights and listens to the quiet hum of the fridges. The thermometer reads as it should. She takes the photo, logs the number, and feels a small lift. The cold chain is solid. She checks the hot hold unit though it is still off, just to be sure the display looks normal. She writes a short line in the morning log, follow up with nurse student stomach aches reported. By 6, her 2 cooks arrive. They set water to boil, warm the ovens, and ask about the day's menu. Mariah answers with her steady voice and then adds, "We will keep an extra close eye on labels and temperatures today. Please sign the allergen check once you verify." The cooks nod. They have done this many times. They respect how she runs the kitchen, and they trust her calm. At 6:30, Ruth stops by in her blue jacket, ready to go home after the night shift. "You heard about the nurse visits?" she asks in her gentle way. "Yes," Mariah says. "I'll follow up right after breakfast service." "Thank you." Ruth gives a small smile and tells Mariah the building felt colder than usual at dawn. The day outside is bright, but the wind is sharp. Mariah makes a quiet note to check the loading bay again in case someone has propped the door for deliveries. Breakfast flows as usual. Oats steam. Fruit cups shine with light syrup. Toast pops up in neat rows. Students arrive with sleepy faces, and the line moves. Jada, the student journalist, walks in with a notebook and waves. "Morning, Miss Lewis," she says. "You heard about the nurse calls?" Mariah nods. "I heard," she says. "We'll look at everything." Jada writes a few words and steps aside. She watches the kitchen crew finish plates and place them on trays like small gifts. She takes a photo of the walk-in thermometer sticker on the wall, the one Mariah always checks. By 8:15, the principal appears at the kitchen doorway, papers in hand and 2 deep lines between her brows. "We've had more messages," Principal Diaz says. "A few parents are asking if something was wrong with lunch yesterday." Her voice is even, but the worry is there. Nurse's log shows 5 students with stomach aches in 2 lunch periods. No fever, no other signs. "I called the district to report. They may send someone to review." Mariah feels her shoulders square. "Understood," she says. "Our logs are ready. We kept hold temps, cook temps, and service temps. Nothing was out of range." The principal takes a breath. "To be safe, can we pause the chicken patties and the coleslaw for today? Those are the items parents mentioned by name." It is a common response, remove the most visible items so families feel better. Mariah nods. "We can. We'll switch to the Plan B menu." The principal thanks her and adds, "Please let the county health office lead the investigation. They'll want to direct questions." Mariah nods again. She understands. She also knows that quiet, careful work done now will help later. She calls a quick huddle with the crew. "We are moving to Plan B," she says. "Turkey wraps will replace the patties, and we'll serve carrots and corn in place of coleslaw. Please reprint labels, set up the nut-free station markers again, and confirm the new line layout." She speaks clearly and kindly. The crew moves. One prints clean labels. Another shifts pans. Another checks the ingredient guide. "A calm kitchen is a safe kitchen," Mariah often says, and today it matters even more. At 9:20, she steps into the nurse's office between tasks. The nurse, a soft-spoken woman named Mrs. Lin, looks up from her screen and smiles. "I was about to call you," she says. "Yesterday we had 5 students with stomach aches within 2 hours. No fever. No severe signs. I gave water and called home for 2 of them." Mariah asks, "Do you happen to know what they ate?" The nurse cannot share private details, but she can speak in general. 4 were in second lunch, 1 in third. 3 said they had milk. 2 mentioned chicken, but I can't be sure if they meant the main or a side. She pauses. I know you keep strong records. Thank you, Mariah says. Your timing notes help. She does not push for names. She does not need them. She only needs patterns. She thanks the nurse again and returns to the kitchen with a little more weight in her steps. By mid-morning, messages begin to move through the school on phones. A chat thread says, "Avoid cafeteria today." Another line reads, "My cousin felt sick after lunch." The words are small and quick. They jump from screen to screen. Jada reads them and frowns. She knows how rumors grow. She walks to the kitchen door and asks, "Miss Lewis, do you want to say anything on record?" Mariah thinks for a second. "You can say the kitchen is following all safety steps and that the district and county will review," she says. "You can also say we changed the menu today by choice, not because we had to." Jaden nods. "I'll write it like that. Thank you." At 10 o'clock, the late delivery arrives with a few crates, extra milk, extra produce, and a small box of whole grain wraps to help with the menu change. The driver is different today and looks rushed. "Running behind," he says. "Routes got changed." He signs, hands over the tablet, and wheels in a stack. Mariah checks each crate as always. She opens the top milk crate, checks a carton, and reads the plant code. It matches approved numbers. She takes another carton from the bottom of the crate and reads again. It matches too. Then she sees something she recognizes, a single crate labeled overflow. It is a term she has seen before when the warehouse fills a short order from a secondary line. The crate looks the same as the others, but the sticker is a slightly different color. She lifts a carton and reads its code. It is a legal plant code, but not one she sees often on campus. She sets the carton aside and pulls one more from deep in the crate. Same code. She steps to the tablet and writes, "Overflow crate plant code 37A" separate for verification. She places a bright note on the crate and slides it to the back, away from the serving line. Lunch starts, and the room fills with sound and motion. Mariah stands at the edge of the line, her eyes moving the way they always do: faces, trays, pans, labels, the soft green of the nut-free sign, the tiny drop of water that needs to be wiped before someone slips. She stays steady. She smiles at students, answers quick questions, and changes spoons when one brushes the wrong pen. She watches the milk station with extra care. Most cartons are from the morning delivery. A small number, she knows, came from yesterday's late overflow crate because the morning stock ran low in one period and a helper pulled from the back. The helper followed the rule to rotate stock by date, but the overflow crate should have been checked by code first. That is on Mariah, and she knows it. In the middle of second lunch, Coach Reynolds stops by again with his easy grin. "Heard there was a little tummy trouble yesterday," he says, trying to be light. "Nothing serious, I hope." A few students close by hear him and look uneasy. Mariah gives a calm answer, "We changed the menu today to be extra careful. Enjoy your meal." She keeps her voice friendly but firm, not inviting more talk. The coach nods and moves on. Even small remarks can grow when people are tense. She knows this. She does not want to feed a rumor with too many words. Between second and third lunch, the principal returns. "District says the county will send an inspector this afternoon," she says. "They'll want to see your logs and maybe take samples. Thank you for holding the menu." Mariah nods. "All logs are up to date. I will set aside unopened items from each batch and mark times for them." The principal exhales. "I appreciate you," she says. "This is a hard day." Mariah gives a small smile. "We'll make it simple," she says. Simple is clear. When the last group of students leaves, the kitchen shifts into a different rhythm. It is still, but not slow. Mariah pulls on fresh gloves, opens a new stack of sterile sample cups, and labels each one with neat handwriting, date, time, item, batch, and temperature at service. She takes tiny samples of the turkey wrap components, the vegetables, the fruit, and, most carefully, the milk. From each crate, she chooses one unopened carton, wipes the top, and places it in a separate bin marked Hold for review. She logs the plant codes and lot numbers as she goes. She feels the old quartermaster part of herself wake up, the part that likes numbers to match and steps to stay in order. While she works, messages keep coming to the principal's phone. A community page has a post that says, "Cafeteria food made kids sick." There is no proof in the post, but the words are strong, and they spread. The principal responds with a short, careful note, "We are reviewing with the county. We changed today's menu as a precaution. We will share updates." It is the right tone. It is still a hard day. People care about their children. People want quick answers. Mariah understands this with her whole heart. Jada stops by the kitchen door again. "I posted the update," she says. "Some people thanked the school for acting fast. Some still think it was the chicken." Mariah nods. "Thank you for sharing facts," she says. Jada watches as Mariah places a bright sticker on the overflow milk crate and writes, "Do not serve under review." "You think it might be the milk?" Jada asks. Mariah's answer is careful. "I think we should check everything," she says. "And I think this crate came from a less common plant code. That is all I can say until the county looks." After the samples are sealed and placed in the small fridge marked holds, Mariah prints a summary from the walk-in door sensor. The report shows a pattern of quick open and shut events near midnight, most likely the contractors Ruth mentioned. The report also shows steady temperatures through the night. She attaches the printout to the day's logs and writes a note, "Door activity recorded, internal temperature stayed within range." She does not jump to any big idea. She just builds a clear picture. The inspector arrives in the late afternoon. He introduces himself as Ravi Patel and shows his badge. His manner is calm and precise. He asks for logs, asks about the menu change, and asks where the samples are. Mariah gives him everything with neat stacks and short explanations. He looks at the labels and nods. "Thank you," he says. "This is very organized." He notes the overflow crate and reads the plant code. "We'll check this," he says. "Please keep it tagged and separate." He also speaks with the principal and the nurse. He does not rush. He does not blame. He just follows the steps. When he leaves, the kitchen moves into clean down. Soapy water swirls. Stainless steel shines. The team talks in low voices about the day. One cook says her neighbor sent a message asking if the cafeteria is safe. "I told her yes," the cook says. "I told her Miss Lewis is the one I would trust to feed my own child." The other cook nods. "Same." Before heading out, Mariah walks through the space the way she always does, line by line, station by station. She checks that the hold fridge is locked and that the overflow crate is still sealed and marked. She checks that her summary and logs are together for easy review in the morning. She pauses by the milk station and looks at the neat stack of cartons. She imagines the route they travel from plant to warehouse to truck to school. Most days, that route is smooth. Once in a while, a step goes out of line. If that happened here, she will find it. Not with blame. With facts. As she turns off the lights, her phone buzzes. It is a short message from the principal, "Thank you for today. County may call you tomorrow." Mariah types back, "I'll be ready." She slips the phone into her bag and steps into the cool air outside. The wind is bright and a little sharp on her face. She breathes in and feels herself settle. On the drive home, she keeps the radio low. She goes over the day in her mind, one small square at a time, like tiles in a floor. Breakfast steps. Delivery steps. Lunch steps. She thinks about the overflow crate with the different plant code. She thinks about the nurse's timing notes. She thinks about the door sensor report and Ruth's memory of the beeping. There is a picture forming. It is not complete yet, but it is not random. It is a line of small facts that want to join hands. When she parks in front of her building, she sits for a moment with her hands on the wheel, just as she did yesterday. She let her work speak again today. She stayed steady when words flew around her like dry leaves in a breeze. She did not argue in the lounge. She did not answer rumors with more rumors. She answered them with clean labels, clear logs, and a tagged crate set aside for review. She smiles just a little at that thought. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. But it is strong. Upstairs, she sets her bag down, washes her hands, and makes tea. She opens a small notebook she keeps at home and writes a few lines, not about feelings, but about steps. Call warehouse to confirm plant codes used this week. Ask maintenance about door closer. Recheck rotation at milk station with new helper. Review overflow crate process with team. She closes the notebook and looks out the window at the soft evening light across the street. She hopes the students feel better tonight. She hopes their parents sleep well. She hopes tomorrow brings answers. And as the day closes, she makes a quiet promise to herself. She will let the county lead the formal work, as asked. She will also do her part, the simple, careful part that makes answers easier to see. She will follow the line of small facts until they meet at one clear point. She does not need credit. She does not need a headline. She needs the kitchen to be safe, and the story of the day to be true. That is the promise she keeps, even while the rumors keep moving on their own. Mariah arrives before sunrise with a fresh plan in her mind and a small box of sticky notes in her bag. She turns on the lights, checks the walk-in temperature, and takes the morning photo for the log. The number is steady, like a calm heartbeat. She feels a touch of relief at that. Then she opens her notebook to a blank page and writes a title across the top in neat print: What happened, when, and where. It is not fancy. It is clear. She walks the cafeteria like a quiet detective. She stands at the milk station and looks at the metal cooler where the cartons sit during service. She studies the back shelves where extra crates wait. She looks at the register where the scanner recorded the time each student checked out. She looks at the tray return, the place where empty cartons pile up in the bins. Every spot holds a small piece of the story. She breathes in and begins to collect those pieces. First, she pulls the register report for yesterday's second and third lunch. She highlights the minutes when the line was longest. She marks the times Mrs. Lin, the nurse, mentioned. She copies those times onto sticky notes and places them on a simple map she draws of the lunchroom: left line, right line, milk station, tray return. The little colored tabs look like flags on a field. They help her see movement. Next, she goes to the storage room and finds the cardboard from the overflow milk crate that was used yesterday. She knows the crew flattened it after service. She turns the box under the bright office light and reads the plant code on the side, then the smaller code printed near the seam, tiny numbers that point to the fill time and line at the plant. She writes them down. She slides a hand under the flap and finds the packed on time stamp. She writes that too. The numbers are simple facts. They do not change when rumors change. Jaden knocks on the door frame and peeks in. Do you need help? She asks, careful not to step where she should not. Mariah thinks for a moment, then nods. If you want, you can help me count empty milk cartons in the tray returned from second lunch, she says. Look for this plant code. She shows Jada the code on the overflow box. Don't open any sealed bags. Just count what you can see at the top. Jada smiles like someone trusted with a real job. On it, she says, and she hurries away with purpose. Ruth comes by in her day clothes on her way home and stops when she sees the map of sticky notes. "You're lining it up?" she asks. Mariah nods. "We will keep it simple," she says. "Times, places, codes." Ruth tells her again about the loading bay door the contractors kept opening. "It was a cold night," Ruth says. "They were moving equipment. The beeper chirped and chirped. I kept reminding them to close it." Mariah notes the time Ruth remembers just before midnight and draws a small clock symbol near the walk-in on her map. She will test that detail against the door report later. The phone on the office wall rings. It is the district buyer calling back. His voice is polite but tired. He is juggling shortages across many schools. "About your question," he says, "yes, we used a secondary distributor yesterday morning. Short supply at the main warehouse because a line went down. Overflow crates could be from plant 37A or 19C. Mariah asks for one thing: can you email the list of plant codes approved for our district this month, with each plant's fill pattern?" He agrees. She thanks him and adds, "One crate here carried 37A. I've set it aside for review." She returns to the walk-in and studies the shelf where the overflow crate sat yesterday. She measures the distance to the milk station in steps. She thinks about how the helper would have rolled the cart out, lifted cartons into the cooler, and gone back for more. She checks the training notes she gave to new helpers last week: rotate by date, keep cooler door shut between fills, never mix open crates, log when you pull a new crate. The helper followed the date rule. The code rule was not in the written guide because overflow crates were rare. That is a gap she plans to fix. Jada returns with her count. "From the top layer of bags, I saw 12 cartons with the 37A code," she says, "and a bunch with the usual 42D code." She hands over a slip of paper with the tally. "It's not perfect, because I didn't open the bags." Mariah nods approval. "You did exactly right," she says. "Thank you." She adds the number to her map and writes beside it, "Top layer only, partial count." She wants future eyes to know the limits of what was done. Now she opens the door sensor report from the walk-in. Lines on the screen show each open and close event like little peaks. Around midnight, the peaks appear in a row: short opens, quick closes matching Ruth's memory. The internal temperature line right below those peaks holds flat. The cold air inside stayed cold. That makes sense, the door did not stay open long. She prints the page and attaches it to her notes, drawing a small check mark next to door beeps. A memory matched a record. That matters. She sits at the small desk and traces the journey of the overflow crate in her head. Plant codes on the box say it left plant 37A, then went to a secondary distributor, then into the warehouse system as overflow to fill a shortage. She remembers the driver saying routes changed and he was running behind. If the crate sat in a running van line at the warehouse loading dock, even for a while, that time outside a deep cooler matters. If it rode in a truck with many stops, that also matters. Milk is strong and safe when kept cold. It is touchy when warmed and cooled more than it should be. She calls the warehouse and asks, kindly and clearly, if someone can check the dock to truck scan times for the overflow crate lot. A supervisor says he will look. She thanks him and waits. While she waits, she takes an infrared thermometer and aims it at the middle carton in an open crate that has been on the serving line cooler for 15 minutes. The surface reads a bit warmer than the fridge wall. She writes that down too, with the time. She knows surface is not the same as inside, and she will not overpromise what a single reading means. Still, it is a piece. The callback comes with real numbers. Your overflow lot left the secondary distributor at 7:10 a.m., the supervisor says. It reached our warehouse at 7:52, sat at dock lane 3, then was loaded onto truck 12 at 8:38. Truck 12 arrived at your school at 10:00. Mariah repeats the times aloud and writes them down. So there was a 46-minute dock pause, she says, and then a route with multiple stops. The supervisor adds, Lane 3 cooler door was being serviced yesterday morning. We had the cart staged on the line while crews worked. He sounds frustrated with the day. She hears it and only says, thank you for the detail. She sets the phone down and lets the line of facts settle in her mind. Plant 37A. Secondary distributor. Dock lane 3 under service. A 46-minute pause before loading. A late route. A crate labeled overflow. Students with stomach aches in second lunch, the period most likely to use milk from that crate. None of this blames a person in her kitchen. None of this blames a child. It points to a gap in the chain. She circles the words chain of custody on her page, then draws an arrow to temperature risk. Inspector Ravi Patel steps in right then, as if the day timed itself. He nods in greeting and asks if there are any updates he should see. Mariah shows him the map with sticky notes, the register time highlights, the door sensor printout, and the plant code notes. She speaks in short, steady sentences. She does not guess. When she mentions the dock pause and lane service, his brows lift. Did you get that in writing? He asks. I can request a follow-up email, she says. He nods. Please do. This is helpful. Together, they walk to the milk station. Mariah points out the cooler's design, how the crew rotates by date, and how an overflow crate should be tagged and checked by code before being used mid-service. We will add that tag step to our written guide, she says. That's on me. The inspector makes a note. Your logs are strong, and your map makes the pattern visible, he says. I'll take sealed samples from the overflow lot and the regular lot. He thanks her crew for their care, which makes their shoulders relax a little. During the small lull before lunch, Mariah sits with her team and reviews the milk station steps out loud. She does not scold. She teaches. If we ever have an overflow crate, we will do 3 things, she says. 1. Scan or write the plant code on the whiteboard. 2. Tag the crate overflow check before we open it. 3. Place it behind the regular lot until the code is confirmed by me or a lead. The cooks repeat the 3 steps back to her so the rhythm sticks. She writes the steps on a bright card and tapes it near the milk station. Students begin to arrive for lunch again, and the room fills with happy noise and the clink of trays. Mariah watches the line while her mind holds the map. She smiles at children and answers questions about the fruit. She swaps a spoon when it touches the wrong pen. She keeps the flow smooth. At the same time, she checks the cooler and sees only cartons from the regular lot on the top shelf. The overflow crate remains sealed in the back with a bright tag. That small tag feels like a promise. Between second and third lunch, her phone buzzes with an email from the district buyer, a list of approved plant codes and a short note. 37A is approved only when the primary plant is down, he writes. Yesterday was one of those days. Confirm if any 37A crates were used. Mariah replies with one sentence, one 37A crate was partially used during second lunch yesterday, it is now tagged and held. She adds the lot number and a photo of the tag. She copies Inspector Patel so everyone sees the same thing. After the last tray is returned, Jada appears at the door again, eyes bright with questions. I won't publish without your okay, she says, but I want to learn. It looks like this might not be a kitchen mistake. Is that fair? Mariah thinks. She chooses careful, kind words. It is fair to say we are looking at the whole chain, she says. It is fair to say our cooking temperatures were correct and our logs are strong. It is also fair to say sometimes a safe product can become risky if it sits too long in the wrong place. That's why we track codes and times. When the kitchen moves into clean down, Mariah prints a one-page summary. At the top, she puts the purpose, to understand the pattern of student stomach aches reported on date. She lists the steps she took, the times she matched, the plant codes observed, and the actions taken: menu change, sample holds, crate tagging, training update. She lists what she does not know yet: exact internal temperatures of the questioned cartons at each step, independent lab results, and full route temperature records. She signs the bottom with her name and the time. Facts. Limits. Next steps. She tapes a copy of the summary inside the office cabinet where she keeps the daily logs. She gives a copy to the principal and one to Inspector Patel. The inspector reads it, nods, and says, "This makes my work easier." The principal looks relieved. "This is clear," she says. "If anyone asks what we did today, we can show them." Mariah smiles just a little. Clarity is not loud, but it travels far. The sun is low when she finally steps outside. The air holds a cool edge. She unlocks her car and pauses with her hand on the door, looking back at the building. Today she did not solve everything. She did not write a big ending. She laid out the path that leads to one. She lined up facts so the next person could see them in one glance. She taught her team a new step that will live in the kitchen long after this week ends. On the drive home, the city moves around her in slow evening light. She turns the radio low again and lets quiet fill the car. In her mind, the map of sticky notes sits steady. It shows a line from a plant code to a dock lane to a truck route to a milk cooler to a student stray. It is a simple drawing, but it holds the day. She will keep it close. Tomorrow will ask for action. She will be ready to act, not with noise, but with the strength that comes from seeing the whole picture and naming it plainly. Mariah comes in early with a clean shirt, a calm face, and a plan that feels like a straight road. She turns on the lights, checks the walk-in, and takes the photo for the log. The number is steady and cold. She glances at the bright tag on the sealed overflow crate in the back. It sits there like a promise kept. She makes tea in a small mug, takes one sip, then sets it down untouched. Today will need both hands. She gathers her team at the prep table. "We will keep lunch smooth," she says. "We will follow every step. If anything feels off, speak up right away." She writes the 3 new milk rules again on the card by the station, bold and simple. A cook repeats them back with a small grin, as if to say, "We've got this." Mariah nods. She sees the nerves under the grin, and she answers those nerves with structure. She opens the office binder and sets out the summary she made yesterday. Times. Codes. Actions. Limits. Next steps. Clear words take the place of fear. The principal arrives with a tired smile. "Thank you for the summary," she says. "It helped on my call last night." She adds, "The district buyer is ready to talk this morning. The county may call, too." Mariah says, "I'm here." The principal glances at the cafeteria doors, already swinging as early students wander in. "If we do need to change something during service, I'll back you," she says. "Say the word." Mariah's answer is steady. "We'll do what keeps children safe and keeps the story true." Breakfast passes with soft music from a student club practicing on the stage and the sweet smell of cinnamon oats. A few students ask quiet questions about the rumors. Mariah answers the same way each time. "We're checking everything. We changed the menu to be extra careful. You're safe." She does not hurry those words. She lets them land. At 9:45, her phone buzzes with a conference invite from the district office. She wipes her hands, steps to the corner desk, and joins. The buyer's voice comes through the speaker, respectful and fast. "Thank you for your documentation," he says. "We're seeing the same plant code shift on a few campuses. The secondary distributor used 37A yesterday morning." A second voice joins, the warehouse supervisor, who sounds steady but worried. "Dock lane 3 was under service," he says. We staged overflow crates on the van line. We think there was a hold time we didn't log right. Mariah writes their words as they speak. She repeats them once, short and plain, so they can hear what she heard. There is a pause on the line. Yes, the buyer says. That's right. Is the district ready to pull 37A crates until we confirm chain of custody? Mariah asks. The buyer hesitates. We're waiting on county guidance, he says. We can advise holds, but we haven't issued a full pull. Mariah's eyes move to the milk station. A helper is restocking the cooler for lunch. All regular codes so far. She breathes in once. Let's be simple, she says. If a crate from 37A reached any campus yesterday or today, keep it sealed and separate. Do not serve it. We will serve water or juice if needed to meet the meal rules. Another small silence. Then the buyer says, okay. I'll draft the advisory. Can you read lot and code numbers from your crates for the record? Yes, Mariah says. Hold on. She sets the phone to speaker and walks to the back. Her steps are calm, not rushed, but purposeful enough that her crew looks up. She kneels by the bright tagged crate, wipes the label, and reads in a clear voice. Plant code 37A. Lot 15 to 742. Packed on time 5:40. Overflow sticker with gray stripe. She lifts one carton, checks the seam, and adds, internal carton seam code L2. She knows students are lining up for the first lunch already. She can hear their talk, the clink of trays, the beep of the scanner. She stays steady. Everyone will take their cue from her tone. Copy, says the buyer's voice on speaker. That matches the lot at two other schools. Inspector Ravi Patel's number flashes on her screen now. She taps to add him to the call. This is Patel, he says. I'm 5 minutes out. Mariah answers, we're on with the district buyer. We're recommending a hold on all 37A crates district-wide. We are about to start lunch. She looks up at her team and points. Serve the line. Keep the flow. Do not open any crate with 37A. The crew answers with a chorus of yes, Miss Lewis. She returns to the line and lifts her hand slightly to get the team's attention without making a scene. Friends, she says to the room, her voice warm but firm, we're going to do something simple and safe. Today, we're not serving milk from this morning's overflow crate. You can choose water or juice. We'll make sure you get everything you need. The words travel quickly, not like a shout, but like a ripple. A few students glance at the milk station and then back at the food. The line keeps moving. Most kids do not come to school for milk, they come for lunch and friends and small moments that fill a day. They take the new plan in stride. Coach Reynolds steps into the line mid-announcement with a tray in his hand. He hears the last part, do not serve 37A, and stops short. His smile falls away, not from anger, but from surprise. For a second, he looks at Mariah like he is seeing a new person in an old place. The room seems to still around him, the way rooms do when something important is said in a calm voice. Students look up. Staff at the tables glance over. Even the scanner's soft beeps feel quieter. Coach, Mariah says with a friendly nod, keeping the room at ease, we're serving water and juice instead of milk while we double-check a delivery. Please take what you like. Coach looks down at his tray, then at the bright tag on the crate in the back, then at the phone on the counter with the tiny speaker lit. He does not joke. He does not make a face. He just nods. Got it, he says, almost under his breath. He steps aside so a student can pass, and he waits like everyone else, patient and quiet. In that small silence, the whole room understands that this is not about blame. It is about care. The principal comes to stand beside Mariah at the serving line. Do you want a PA announcement? She asks. A short one, Mariah says. The principal walks to the mic and speaks in a clear voice that carries but does not alarm. "Students, we're making a simple change today," she says. "Water and juice are available instead of milk while our team double checks a delivery. Your meals still meet the rules. Thank you for your patience." Then she steps back and smiles at the lunch crew like they are the center of the school today, because they are. Inspector Patel arrives just as the first wave begins to thin. He moves straight to the back with Mariah and the principal. He looks at the bright tag, reads the code, and compares it to his list. "Yes," he says, "this crate matches the secondary distributor lot. Thank you for tagging it. Please keep it sealed." He turns the box slightly and points to a tiny mismatch on a barcode sticker. This sticker format is from the overflow line, not the main. That's consistent with a substitution. He takes photos and notes, then steps to the serving line to look at the cooler. "All regular codes here," he says. "Good." The buyer comes back on the line. "Advisory drafted," he says. "Reading now, effective immediately, hold and do not serve milk from plant code 37A and lot ranges L1, L3 delivered on dates. Use approved alternatives to meet meal requirements. Keep crate sealed for county review. Tag with hold do not serve." He pauses. "Can your team pass this to kitchen leads directly?" The principal lifts her phone. "I can add them," she says, and within seconds, the call becomes a small network of calm voices from different schools. Mariah hears hellos, quick breaths, a clatter in a faraway kitchen. She speaks into the group with the same steady pace. "This is Mariah at Jefferson," she says. "We are holding 37A and serving water or juice. Tag crates bright. Do not open them. Keep service gentle and clear. You'll be fine." She reads the codes again, simple and exact, so no one has to guess. On the other end, someone says, "Thank you, Jefferson. We're with you." Another voice adds, "Holding now." The buyer follows with, "District advisory is now live." The principal sends a copy to each campus chat in one motion. A map in Mariah's mind lights up kitchens she has visited, people she has trained, rooms that look like hers. She thinks of their shiny stainless steel, their humming fridges, their lines of kids. She feels the weight of many small decisions turning in the same safe direction at once. Back on the line, a student asks if she can still take fruit and a cookie. "Yes," Mariah says with a smile. "Take one fruit, and your cookie is part of the meal today. You're good." Another student asks, "Is the food okay?" "Yes," Mariah says again. "We made this change because we care. Enjoy lunch." The student nods, and his shoulders drop from his ears. He bites into the wrap and laughs at something his friend says. The room warms a little with that sound. Jada stands near the side with her camera lowered. She is not snapping photos now. She is watching. She sees the coach step back and give his place to a 7th grader. She sees the principal hand out trays. She sees Mariah hold the phone like a small command center, then put it down and wipe a counter with the same hands. Jada thinks, not for a story, but for herself, leadership can be quiet and still look like sunshine finding a path through a window. Between the lunch waves, Mariah and Inspector Patel move through a quick checklist. He takes sealed samples from the tagged crate and from a regular lot for comparison. He signs the hold log. He asks 3 questions. She answers each one with numbers and times. She hands him the doc delay note she got from the warehouse. He looks relieved to see it in writing. "This will help us fix the gap," he says. He thanks the crew, "You are doing important work." One of the cooks blushes and laughs softly, not used to being seen like that. The last lunch ends without rush or worry. The tray return fills, empties, and fills again. The floor stays clean. The cooler hums, shut tight between uses. Mariah stands still for a moment, hands on the counter, and looks across the room. It is the same cafeteria as always and not the same at all. The change is not the missing milk. The change is the clear line from question to action. She feels the day shift inside her chest, like a lock clicking open. When clean down starts, the team moves with their usual rhythm. Pans in sinks. Counters wiped. Labels updated. The bright tag remains on the sealed overflow crate, now with a second sticker from the inspector. Mariah writes a new line in the log, 12:05 p.m. advisory read to district kitchen leads. All 37A crates held. Students served water/juice. Service calm. She adds, coach and staff supported plan. Students responded well. Facts matter. So does the human temperature of a room. The principal returns with a message from the district. They're grateful, she says. They said, we were stuck drafting. Jefferson made it plain. They want you on a call later to help write a simple checklist for any future overflow. Mariah smiles and shakes her head slightly, the way a person does when praised for doing what needed doing. Happy to help, she says. She checks that her team took their break, that their hands are moisturized after many washes, that someone fills the mop bucket fresh. Care runs all the way down to small things. Coach Reynolds walks up, not booming, just a man with his cap in his hand. He looks at the bright tag, then at Mariah. I didn't understand how much you track, he says, slow and honest. I'm sorry for the jokes. Thank you for taking care of our kids. Mariah meets his eyes with kindness. We all take care of them, she says. Today it was our turn to show how. He nods, and something in his face changes, a little more respect, a little less hurry. As the sun leans across the high windows, Inspector Patel steps back in with one last update. County will notify families this evening, he says. The message will say the school acted fast and that we're holding a specific lot while we check the chain. No blame. Just the steps. That's good for trust. Mariah thanks him. He glances toward the tag again and adds, you made it easy to do the right thing. The room falls quiet after he leaves. Mariah stands for a beat and listens to the building hum. She thinks of the children who carried clear cups of water instead of milk and still laughed with friends. She thinks of kitchen leads across town who pulled a crate because a clear voice on a small speaker said, hold that. She thinks of the long road a carton travels and the shorter road a decision travels when someone says, let's be simple. She takes off her gloves, washes her hands, and dries them with a towel. She picks up her cold tea, now just a memory of warmth, and smiles at herself. She did not need to be loud. She did not need a badge. She needed a map, a phone, a tag, and the trust earned from doing careful work every day. When the moment came, the room froze not in fear, but in attention. Then it moved again, all in the same safe direction. That is the kind of turning point that does not shout. It clicks. It holds. It stays. Outside, the wind has softened. She steps into it with an easy stride, thinking of the checklist she will write tonight and the training she will lead tomorrow. The problem is not solved yet. Samples still need testing. Messages still need to go out. But the big move has been made. The wrong crate is sealed. The right people are aligned. The path ahead is clear enough to follow. And she will follow it, one good step after another. The county's message arrives the next afternoon, just after the last tray is stacked and the floor is drying. Inspector Ravi Patel walks in with a calm face and a folder under his arm. He greets the principal, then Mariah, and sets the folder on the prep table where the crew can see. The air in the kitchen feels still, the way it does before a soft rain. Lab results are back, he says in a gentle voice. Your cooking and holding logs are perfect. The issue traces to an overflow crate from Plant 37A. The chain had a delay at the warehouse dock, and the milk likely warmed beyond safe range before delivery. Your decision to hold and tag was correct. He turns a page and adds, "We're issuing a district notice with clear steps so this does not happen again." Mariah nods once, slow and steady. She thanks him, not with a long speech, but with a look that says the kitchen's quiet work was seen. The principal lets out a breath she has been holding for 2 days. One cook wipes her eyes, surprised to find tears there. The crew is not celebrating, they are settling. What they felt in their bones that care and records matter has been confirmed in writing. Ravi leaves copies of the report and thanks each person by name. He reminds them, because you acted fast, this stayed small. Then he is gone, and the room hums again. Word spreads across the campus in an hour, not as a rumor, but as a simple update from the principal's office. Families receive a message on their phones that says the school followed safety steps, the county found a supply chain gap, and new rules are in place to protect students. The tone is clear and kind. It does not point fingers. It names what happened and how the adults responded. In classrooms, teachers share a short note out loud, "Our cafeteria team did the right thing." Some students nod and move on to math. Others glance toward the cafeteria doors with fresh respect. Coach Reynolds stops by the kitchen in the afternoon with an extra box of sports bottles he bought for the team. "I thought these might help if we ever switch drinks again," he says, a little shy now. "Thank you for how you handled everything." His voice is small and earnest. Mariah smiles and accepts the box. She does not make a big show of it. She says, "That's thoughtful. We'll keep them ready." He stands there a moment, then adds, "If you ever want to volunteer during lunch, I'm your guy." She nods. "I'll put you on the list." Jada's article goes up on the school paper website that evening. The headline is simple, "How the Cafeteria Kept Us Safe." The first photo is not of a crisis, it is of a whiteboard with plant codes, a bright tag on a crate, and a hand holding a pen steady over the log. The story is written in plain words that feel like the kitchen, no drama, just steps. Jada explains what a plant code is, how a chain of custody works, and why a sealed crate can matter as much as a hot pen. She prints Mariah's quote about being simple and clear. Comments under the article say thank you. A parent writes, "I never knew how much thinking goes into lunch." 2 days later, the district gathers cafeteria leads on a video call. Some join from bright, stainless rooms. Some join from small office corners tucked behind walk-ins. The buyer reads new guidance: overflow crates must be scanned on arrival, plant codes must be recorded on a shared sheet, any crate from a secondary distributor must be tagged hold verify until cleared, and dock temperatures must be logged during transfers at the warehouse. He credits Jefferson's Kitchen for the format of the checklist. The guidelines are precise but not heavy. They are the kind of steps people can follow on a busy day. Mariah is asked to share what worked. She keeps it short. She talks about the map of sticky notes, the way times and places told the story. She talks about training helpers to check codes, not just dates. She repeats her 3 milk rules, the ones taped to the station in clear print. She mentions the way the principal's calm announcement made the whole room steady. She ends with, "Make it easy to do the right thing." Bright tags. Clear logs. One place for codes. That's it? Heads nod in little squares on the screen. Someone writes her words on a notepad. Someone else snaps a photo of their own station to show a team later. The district names the new process the Lewis Protocol in its internal notes, not because Mariah asked, but because people need a label they will remember when days get wild. Mariah blushes when she hears it. She would have been happy with milk hold checklist. Still, she understands the point. Names help ideas travel. They make it easy for a new person to say, "We're doing the Lewis Protocol," and for everyone to know what to do next. Small changes ripple outward. The warehouse adds a timer light at the dock that turns amber if a pallet sits too long before loading. Drivers receive a quick card with cold chain rules in bold print, so even on a rushed route, they can check the high points. The district updates the order form to flag overflow crates in a different color so no one mistakes them for regular stock. In kitchens, whiteboards bloom with simple charts, date, time, plant code, who checked. None of it is fancy. All of it feels like care you can touch. Back at Jefferson, life returns to the regular rhythm students love, the smell of toast in the morning, the click of trays at noon, the low talk that rises and falls like water on stones. The only visible sign of last week is the bright tag on the training binder and the small poster near the milk station that reads, "We check every crate so you can enjoy every meal." Students pass by it without reading most days, the way people walk past a good door without thinking about the hinges. That is fine with Mariah. Safety is not a show. It is a practice. One afternoon, a third grader stops at the counter with a serious face and a piece of paper folded into a small square. "For you," she says to Mariah. Inside is a drawing of a woman with an apron, a hairnet, and a bright tag on a box. The caption in shaky letters reads, "Thank you for keeping me safe." Mariah feels a warm ache in her chest. She puts the drawing in a plastic sleeve and tapes it inside the office cabinet where the logs live. It sits there like a quiet medal. The school board invites Mariah to a meeting to share the story in 5 minutes or less. The room is long and formal, with microphones and nameplates. She speaks without notes. She tells the board what she tells her crew: "We followed our steps. We held what we could not confirm. We called for help. We stuck to facts." A board member asks what the district can do to support kitchens better. Mariah says, "Give us time for training, and give us tools that make good habits easy. Labels that stick. Scanners that work. Enough staff for the line." People in the audience nod because these are small, doable things. They vote to fund new scanners and refresh training across all schools. The motion passes without fuss. The next week, Mariah leads a short workshop for kitchen leads. She opens with a story about her quartermaster days, just a line or two, to explain why she loves clean records. She spreads out sample tags, shows how she writes plant codes big, and invites people to practice. The room laughs when a tag sticks to someone's sleeve. The mood is light. In the back, a new lead raises a hand. "What if people laugh at us for being so strict?" she asks. Mariah says, "Let them laugh. Then let your work speak." In a hard moment, the room will go quiet and look to the person with the clearest plan. Be that person. The new lead smiles and writes it down. Jada's article is picked up by the district newsletter. A reporter from the local paper calls the principal for a comment and gets a tour instead. He sees the logs, the tags, the station signs, and the clean, bright space where thousands of small good choices are made every week. His story features the word logistics, not just lunch, and readers learn that a cafeteria is an engine of care with a clock in its heart. The piece ends with a quote from the principal: "Trust is built in small, everyday steps." Our cafeteria shows that. As weeks pass, the numbers quiet down. Nurse visits for stomach aches return to their usual, scattered pattern: one here, none there. Families stop asking worried questions at pickup. Coaches talk about games again. Teachers joke about essays instead of menus. The calm feels different now. It has a foundation under it, poured by a week of careful work. On a simple Tuesday, Mariah pauses at the milk station and listens to the cooler hum. She glances at the whiteboard with fresh plant codes and smiles at the neat handwriting of a new helper who is proud to write them big and clear. She watches a 7th grader choose a carton, twist the cap, and take a sip without a second thought. She loves that lack of worry. It means the adults did their jobs before the bell ever rang. In the staff lounge, Coach Reynolds brings a tray of orange slices to share and tells a short story about how his grandmother ran a small cafe and kept a ledger that could answer any question about any day. "She would have liked your logs," he says to Mariah. Everyone laughs, and this time the laughter holds no edge. It is just friendly sound. Before closing one evening, Mariah pulls out the notebook she keeps at home and adds a new page, "Things that worked." She lists the bright tags, the speakerphone call with other kitchens, the principal's calm announcement, the inspector's steady manner, the buyer's willingness to share details, the warehouse timer light, the coach's water bottles, Jada's clear words, Ruth's memory of the beeping door, the crew's quiet hands. She looks at the list and sees a community, not a single hero. That feels right. She turns off the lights and steps into the soft evening. The building behind her holds classrooms, a stage, and a kitchen that now carries a story in its walls, a story about how respect sounds like a clear plan, how safety looks like a bright tag on a box, how leadership can stand at a serving line and speak in a warm, steady voice. She thinks about the children who will never know this week in detail. They will only know their meals were safe and their days kept flowing. That is the best kind of ending. On her drive home, traffic glows in small dots ahead. She does not need the radio. Her mind is quiet. She knows there will be other busy days, other small scares, other moments when the room will turn to see who is steady. She is ready. She does not need a name on a protocol. She needs her notebook, her crew, and the simple promise she made to herself long ago: be clear, be kind, be exact. The city slides by. The sun lowers. And in 100 kitchens across the district, tags and logs and calm voices turn safety into a daily habit that no one has to think about to trust.